If you're an LG OLED owner, old or new, you might have set your TV up for the first time thinking everything is as good as it can be, right?
Wrong.
And that's exactly why I've spent the last few days scouring the internet for the very best tips and tricks from the experts so that you don't have to. And that is why I'm calling this video LG OLED Final Boss Settings. And if you follow along to the end of this video, when people see how good your LG OLED TV looks, they might ask you, how did you do that? And to that you can answer, aha! Aha! And if you want to, you could show them this video. Anyway, I'm going to do my best to make each tip very concise, so let's get straight into this. Now on your home screen, see this row of colored tiles right here? This is what LG calls their Q cards. And did you know you can actually customize and get rid of the ones that you don't want to use? To do this, all you need to do is hold your thumb down on the select button whilst highlighting one of the tiles. Now you're on the editing menu where you can hit the up arrow and click the center button to move the tiles you're never going to use off your home screen. And while you're here, you can also reorganize them with the most useful ones at the front. And I'm going to move the sports one closer to the front because we're going to come back to that. Something that you need to be mindful of when it comes to your TV is the amount of storage that's being used. And actually LG pre-install apps to subsidize the cost of the TV and actually bring it down and make it more affordable. But if you're never going to use these apps, I recommend you do this. Highlight an app that you're never going to use on your home screen, hold your thumb down on the center button, and then the little bin icon will appear above it, and delete that app and erase it from existence.
Erased from existence.
That's until you decide to reinstall it again later if you do need it. And also, whilst on the editing screen, you can reorganize and shuffle around the apps and move the most useful ones to the front. Now, one of the apps that I'm going to move to the front is the Always Ready feature. Just make sure that this is switched on first. To check this, go to settings and then all settings. And then here, go to the general section and you'll see the Always Ready feature. Just switch this on first. Once this is active, highlight the Always Ready app and open it. And here, there are a lot of options. And this is actually where you can unlock some of your LG OLED's masterpieces. So within the app, if you use the up and down directional pad, you can navigate through the different options you have, starting with the information page. This is a great way to have an always on display like on a smartphone. So you can have the time there, the weather there. And if you go to the right and click on the menu, you can even add photo galleries and things like that to it as well. It's a nice way to just have an ambient display that's kind of always on in the background. Now, if you hit down on the directional pad on your remote, you can access the art piece section, which is one of my favorite features. If you want to have your TV on the wall just looking like a picture frame, you can do that. And here you have a selection of different artworks that you can download. And whilst on the art piece section, if you hit the menu by tapping right and clicking on menu, in the top right corner, you will see 3 dots. Here you can activate the screen on via sensor option. So this will use the TV sensors to detect when someone is near it and it will activate the wallpapers. You can also set the timeout period that you want it to use, and you can even set it to transition more slowly because by default it is quite quick. And if you are going to have it in a workspace, you can even set a schedule as to when you want this feature to run. So you can set it from 9 a.m. Monday to Friday if you want to. Now, next on the Always Ready list is the movements feature. These are kind of similar to the wallpaper artworks, except they move and they do have some music. One thing to keep in mind about these is the music is very short and it loops around, so you might find it frustrating. But there's some good news. There is a better way to play music with your artwork, which I'm about to show you. But before we do that, next on the list is Moments. Here is where you can upload your own photos from a Google photo gallery, or you can actually upload photos from a USB stick or using your phone with LG's apps. One thing to keep in mind, if you are going to link your Google Photos library, just be careful of the photos you're taking on your wild nights out, because you don't want to come home and find an embarrassing picture plastered over your TV for your whole family to see. And the last feature on this list is my favorite. It's called Sound Palettes. So when you open this up for the first time, you'll be given the option to download specific types of music that you want to apply to this feature. You could download all of them if you want, but do keep your memory in mind. Once you've downloaded that and started playing it, you'll notice you can navigate away and even back to the artwork and still have that music looping in the background, and it's quite relaxing. And if you go back to the sound palette section, you will see these visual EQs which you can use. I really like the raindrop one because most of the screen is black and it's just little white dots on the screen. It uses very little power and it looks kind of awesome. So now that you've set that up, you've upgraded that fireworks screensaver that most people have, and your TV will look better when it's not in use. But it does mean you have to power down once and it will activate always ready, and when you power down again, it fully powers down. So the always ready feature will kick in after a certain amount of time, but there is a way you can start it very quickly manually without having to swipe or point. So check this out. If you hold the 0 on your remote control, this brings up the shortcuts menu where you can map your number keys to specific apps. So if you really like the always ready feature, you could map it to one of these numbers, and when you push and hold that number, it will automatically open the always ready feature, and then you can scroll up and down to select which one of them you want to use. And let's say you don't have a YouTube key on your remote and you do want a quick way to jump into YouTube, you could map that to number 1 if you wanted to. Now, if like me, you use your TV mainly standalone with just a console plugged in, what you might find from time to time when you're viewing your beautiful wallpapers is this annoying no signal floating window that moves around the screen and ruins the art. Here's how you can get rid of that. Tap the mute button on your remote control 3 times. This opens up a secret menu where you can switch off the no signal image. And if you really want to, you could switch off the LG logo when your TV boots up and shuts down. So now you can fully enjoy the artwork on your TV uninterrupted. And I'll be honest with you, sometimes I enjoy just sitting in the corner and looking at the paintings.
I sit in the corner and look at the paintings.
That is brilliant.
Okay, now let's go back to that sports cue card that I mentioned earlier. If you are a sports fan, you definitely want to do this. Click on the sports cue card, then go to My Team, search for your favorite sports teams and add them here. With that set up, now you can view all of the upcoming fixtures and results. And when you click on one of these tiles, you can even see videos from the game or even where it's going to be showing. And if you go back to the home screen and highlight the sports cue card, you can get a quick update of the most recent match. And that is nice.
Nice.
Now here's another personalization tweak that's going to make life easier for you in the long run. If you go into your settings, all settings, then support, and then TV information, here you can delete the generic name of your TV and give it something more personal, which will make it easier to connect to if you're casting content from your phone, and also it'll make it easier to manage connecting it to your Wi-Fi and other devices. Now, something I really like about LG TVs is the pointer feature on the remote. It can be fantastic for typing in things more quickly than using the directional pad. However, it is set by default to be quite sensitive. So if you are struggling with that, then definitely do this. Go to settings, all settings, then general, system, additional settings, and here you'll find the pointer options. I would recommend you set this to slow. It just makes it far less sensitive. So if you are on the 3rd coffee of the day, you're gonna find it easier to type things in on your on-screen keyboard. And you'll be able to select things more precisely.
You mean
Precisely, Robin.
Okay, so those were a bunch of customization tweaks. Now let's get into the important stuff, improving your picture performance. And I know when you're exploring the picture settings menu, you might feel like, because there's so much going on here and you probably don't want to mess things up. So let me show you some of the stuff that you absolutely should change. If you go into your settings, all settings, picture, advanced settings, brightness. If your TV is in a bright room like this one, then I recommend setting your OLED pixel brightness to 100 and also set peak brightness to the highest. And this does not mean that you'll be blasting the maximum brightness 100% of the time. It just unlocks the full potential of the brightness of the screen so that it can use it as in when it needs to. But there is another step when it comes to fully unlocking your display's potential. A lot of TV manufacturers adjust the settings to kind of meet these energy ratings that can help with marketing. But you've already bought the TV, so you don't need to be marketed to anymore. So do this, go into settings, all settings, general, and then go to energy saving. Switch this off, and don't worry about switching this off because OLED TV panel tech is supremely energy efficient compared to pretty much any other TV tech out there. So it's not like your electric bills are about to go through the roof if you do switch this off. And in doing this, you will be enhancing the maximum potential of the display on your OLED. Now, as a video creator, I can tell you from experience, sometimes a creator will use specific lenses, specific filters to create a specific look. What you don't want is your TV going in and ruining all that by over sharpening. So I recommend you do this. Go into the settings, all settings, then picture, advanced settings, and go to the clarity section and set the sharpness to 0. Now your TV is not going to over sharpen the content beyond what the creator intended. Now, when it comes to picture modes that you might want to use on your TV, the most color accurate by far is the filmmaker mode. With that said though, when it comes to watching regular TV and SDR content that wasn't shot for cinema, you might prefer the cinema mode. But there is a little tweak you need to make here that I recommend if you do watch sports. If you go back into the all settings menu, go back to picture, then to clarity and scroll down, you will see the true motion. When you set the cinema mode for the first time, it will be on cinematic movement. And what this might do when you're watching football, for example, is introduce this kind of stutter. If you don't want that, then I recommend you set this to either natural, and if you want it to be super smooth, set it to smooth motion. And the reason I like cinema mode the most for just general TV stuff is the fact that it has a lot of that color accuracy that the filmmaker mode has, but it's a bit brighter, and with this setting on, it's a bit better for sports. And here is another setting for you sports fans out there that can help you optimize your picture subtly when watching different types of sports. Go into the settings, all settings, general, then go to the AI service and turn on AI genre selection. This will not automatically switch the mode of your TV to specific modes like the sports mode, but what it will do is make these little adjustments to improve the picture using AI to analyze what it is you're watching. And when it comes to watching movie content, you definitely want to be using the filmmaker mode, but you probably don't want to go in and manually have to set it every time.
And that sounds like a lot of work.
So here's another really useful tip to make life easier for yourself. Go into settings, all settings, picture, and then at the bottom of this page, go to filmmaker mode, auto start. Now, whenever you're watching a movie, your TV will recognize that it is a movie and it will auto switch into filmmaker mode, which is by far the best picture profile on your LG OLED for movies. So your OLED TV has a bunch of safety measures in place to prevent screen burning, and this all happens behind the scene, but LG also give you some more preventative measures which are actually switched on by default. So if you like to live dangerously, you might want to switch these off. Go into settings, all settings, general, then to OLED care, and then to OLED panel care. Here you'll see that the adjust logo brightness is actually on. And what this does is it will dim the screen when there's a watermark on the display for too long. And this should help prevent burning. But like I said before, there are already preventative measures in place. So this doesn't necessarily need to be on. And if you turn it off, this will further enhance the overall picture performance on your OLED TV. And if you've just done that, well, then there's something you should know about me.
I also like to live dangerously.
Right, this is just a bonus tip. Apologies for the bright sunlight. I have no control of that. But what you need to know about your LG OLED TV is that when it comes to adjusting picture profiles, in order to adjust them for Dolby Vision, SDR and HDR, you actually have to have SDR content playing before you can adjust it, and you have to have Dolby Vision content playing before you can adjust that. I would really want to see individual settings within the menu system on the TV to adjust these even when it's not playing.
And I've on a toilet made out of solid gold, but it's just not in the cards now, is it?
But unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. So in order to adjust these the same way that they're just shown you for the HDR content is to load it up. So you could go into Disney Plus and load up a Star Wars movie and then adjust the Dolby Vision settings. Then you can go into YouTube, load up a piece of standard definition content. I've got Mr. Bean running here. And then you can go into the settings and adjust those. And you'll only have to do this once. So just set it and then you can forget about it. Okay, this next section of the video is specific to gamers. If you're not a gamer, use the timestamp to jump to the settings that you absolutely, positively need to switch off. So right here, I have a PlayStation 5 and a PC. We're gonna start with the PS5 first. With your PS5 hooked up and switched on, go into settings, and you will need to go to the all settings section on the game enhancer menu. Then go to picture, advanced settings, then brightness, and here you'll see the dynamic tone mapping option. It's really important you change this to HGIG because essentially what this does is it tells the PlayStation it can manage all of the dynamic tone mapping on its own. If you leave this on, your TV will be applying another layer on top of that, which can look good, but it's...
sometimes may be good, sometimes may be shit.
Yeah, if you're a PS5 owner, you should probably switch that off. Now, what you might not realize if you are a PS5 owner is that LG's Game Enhancer actually increases the blue light on the display from the PlayStation, and this isn't actually entirely accurate. So if you want more cinematic and more accurate colors from your LG OLED whilst gaming, do this. Go to all settings on the Game Enhancer, then go to picture, go to advanced, color, white balance, and color temperature. Now, some people will say to set this to as low as possible, but I've found setting it to around -10 actually matches the filmmaker mode quite nicely. I switch back and forth just to check, and that is where I like it to be. I recommend you do the same, but definitely turn down the blue light on your TV to where it feels comfortable for you. And the reason you wouldn't want to use the filmmaker mode here whilst gaming for the most accurate colors is you don't get all of the perks and enhancements that you do get from the game enhancer settings. So this is the best way to get close to the filmmaker mode whilst gaming. Now here is a setting that you need to change on the PS5 itself. Go into the settings menu, go to screen and video, and then color, and set this to HDR on when supported. This just means that when you're playing older games that don't support HDR, you're not going to get this forced HDR format that can, again, sometimes look good.
Sometimes maybe shit.
And here is another setting that can improve SDR content from your PS5. Go into your TV settings, then picture, advanced settings, brightness, and here set the video range to auto. That way it can detect when it is receiving an SDR signal. And I know it can be tempting to set this to full, thinking that that's going to be better, but actually it isn't. Now there's one more setting to change on the PS5 itself. Go back into the screen and video menu, go to RGB range and set this to automatic. This allows the PS5 and your LG OLED TV to understand each other a bit better and therefore produce a better color range and an overall better picture when gaming. Okay, these next few tips are for those of you hooking up a PC to your LG OLED TV, and the LG TVs are surprisingly well equipped for this. Check out these settings. Go into all settings, then general, go to external devices, and then HDMI settings. Here you can enable 444 chroma, and you do need to make sure that your PC is outputting that signal. So for me, I need to go into my NVIDIA control panel, and under the resolution tab, I've set the color depth to the highest, the output format to RGB, and the output dynamic range to full. And there's actually a really easy way to check that your TV is receiving the proper signal, and I'm going to show you that in a minute. Now here's a little tip to fully perfect your PC's output on your LG TV. On your Windows PC, if you go into the settings and then the display menu, click on the color profile. Here you'll see the option to calibrate display. This will prompt you to download Microsoft's HDR tool, which works very similar to the PlayStation 5's HDR tool, where you adjust the brightness and the contrast and the colors to dial in the perfect settings. And it's very easy to do, so why not? Okay, here's a setting that you might want to enable if you do like more cinematic gaming, or if you're going to be watching lots of movie content from your PC. On your TV, go to all settings, general, then external devices, then HDMI settings. If you have a capable graphics card and the right HEVC extensions, you can enable Dolby Vision PC. And when it comes to delivering the proper signal from your PC to the TV, there is a bit of a complicated process behind that, depending on your setup. So you're going to have to research that on your own, I'm afraid. Anyway, now let me show you that little trick to check the signal that your TV is actually receiving from your device. On your remote control, if you tap the green button 8 times, this will bring up a little window on the display that shows your VRR information and the signals that's being received on the TV. If it says Dolby Vision, then you're in luck. And if you've set it to 444 chroma, you should see that here as well. Okay, now let's get into the things that you absolutely positively need to switch off to improve your LG OLED TV. And a little side note, you probably already know this, OLED panels are actually notoriously hard to make. That's why they're more costly. And one of the ways they keep the price down is by adding advertising on the TV, which can be quite frustrating. So let's deal with that right now. So if you are using the built-in screensaver on your LG TV and not the always ready feature I showed you earlier on, what you might notice from time to time is adverts popping up in place of the screensaver. Here's how to get rid of those. Go to settings, then all settings, then general, then system, additional settings, and here is where you'll find the option to turn off screensaver promotions. I highly recommend you do this. Now, something you might not realize is that the TV can assess what you're watching, when you're watching, the apps you use, the devices you have hooked up, and this is all important marketing data for advertisers. So if you don't want advertisers following you around, then you definitely want to switch this one off. Go to settings, all settings, then general, then system, and additional settings again. And then here, go to home settings. And here you can switch off the home promotion setting, which will massively reduce the amount of ads that's shown on your TV. Now, you might be tempted to switch off the content recommendation switch as well, but I actually find this one quite useful. particularly the now streaming and popular movie row, because here you can quickly see the latest stuff that's available on your favorite streaming services. But some of the other stuff is kind of just more advertising. So here's a little bonus tip to better organize this. So if you scroll all the way to the bottom of your home screen, you can hit the pen icon here and move all of the useful stuff further up the list and all of the promotional annoying stuff further down, so you never have to see it. And believe it or not, there are a couple more promotional settings to switch off. So here is another one, and this is a very, very important one. If you don't want ads following you around, go to settings, all settings, general, system, additional settings, and this is where you can switch off Live Plus. This tells the TV not to track what you're viewing on the TV. So you definitely want to switch this off if you're the type of person who goes online to find out if you have ADHD and ends up buying a new pair of trainers. Okay, so those were the things to turn off. Now let's get into some of the settings that can optimize the overall performance of your LG OLED TV. If you've installed and uninstalled lots of apps, then from time to time you want to do this. Go to settings, all settings, then support. Here you'll find the memory optimizer tool. This will eliminate any unnecessary processes running in the background and clear up any junk. Also, whilst on your home screen, if you hit the back arrow, you can actually see what is running in the background manually and shut them down there if you want to. Now, I've not spoke much about sound settings for the TV because everybody's sound settings will be different depending on the hardware. Now, if you have some really nice audio hardware that doesn't support Dolby Atmos, then you definitely want to do this. Go to settings, all settings, then sound, and advanced settings. Here you can set the digital sound output to PCM. This is suitable for high-end audio equipment that supports up to 8 channels but doesn't support Dolby Atmos. If your audio equipment does support Atmos, then you want to leave this on auto. Now here's a tip that really should have been in the customization section of this video, but it is a useful way to jump to specific settings that you're going to use a lot. If you hit the settings button and then the pen at the top, here you can find the quick settings shortcuts. If you hit the plus here, you can add new quick settings. And if you select one, you can actually move it around and reorganize these quick settings. And I recommend putting the most used stuff at the top. Okay, this next setting is for anyone who doesn't really use the web OS platform that much and uses an external box or satellite receiver or something. If you go into settings, all settings, then general, and here go to system, and then additional settings, and then home settings. If your device is connected, you will see it here and you can choose to power on to that device, which will completely bypass the WebOS home screen. Okay, this next tip is for any of you watching this who have kids. If you hit the settings and go to the padlock at the top of the screen and enable this function, now you can lock down the type of content that's viewed on the TV in various ways. And you can even specify times in which the TV can and can't be used. And if you hit the back arrow here, you'll jump straight into the family settings where you can control the volume limit, enable the eye care feature. And there's some very useful graphs here that show you the usage of the TV. So you can find out whether it's been used when it's not supposed to be. Okay, here's something that you might find annoying when it's the end of the day, you're sitting on the sofa, you put your feet up, you go to watch something on your TV and the app isn't up to date. If you want to avoid this, just hit the all apps icon on the home screen. Then go to the 3 dots and then tap app update. And now you can enable allow auto app updates, and assuming you've got rid of all of the junk like I showed you earlier on in this video, then you're not going to get unnecessary updates, just the stuff that you use. Now here's a little need to know if you do switch your HDMI cables between devices from time to time. What you might see is the wrong device showing on the HDMI input. If you ever see this, then you need to know how to do this. Select the problematic HDMI device. Above it, you should see universal control settings. If you highlight the device that's causing a problem, hit manage settings. Here you can delete all of the existing settings and the TV will recognize it again as what it actually is. This is important because you don't want the TV to be processing the signal incorrectly. All right, so you've made it all the way to the end, and I do have a bonus tip for you, and there's a very specific use case for this. If you highlight your current picture mode, whether it's cinema mode or whatever, on your remote tap 1113111. This unlocks a super secret menu. Within this menu, if you change the EOTF to ST2084, this will force a HDR signal from an SDR device. Something that doesn't support HDR, this will technically improve the performance. I do recommend you test it out and see what kind of results you get, because it may vary depending on the hardware. Hey, do you remember the Sega Dreamcast? That was kind of awesome. So I really hope these settings have helped you. If there is an update in the future, I will do an updated version of this video. And if you have got some kind of value out of this video and you're not subscribed, well then,
Do it. Do it.
because I would greatly appreciate it. And if you just subscribed, I will see you in the next one, so don't be late.